All right, hopefully you guys can see me this time. All right, so today we're going to be doing a full body dumbbell workout. We're going to be targeting the muscles in the upper body first, then move to some lower body exercises. And we're then going to be going into more isolation movements in the arms. So if that sounds good to you, if you're looking to feel better about how you look and how your body is moving, and you're like me and looking to grow muscle and work on your physique, hit that like button for me to let me know you want more content like this. So today, we are going to be using dumbbells for our workout. So, we're going to be using a combination of a exercise ball, bench, and then just some freestanding exercises, but all the resistance is gonna be dumbbells. So I like to start with a warm-up, doing specific exercises, doing a specific warm-up for the exercises we're gonna be doing. So I grab 2 dumbbells that are a little bit lighter than I would normally do for a bench press. So I like to do 30 pounds because I normally do a 40-pound bench press. So starting out with a slightly lighter weight lets your body warm up, get blood flow into the muscle, and get ready to work. So for a dumbbell bench press, this works the muscles in your chest and your tricep especially, some of the front of that shoulder as well. So for our warm-up, I'm gonna do 10 reps. This should not be strenuous yet. So if it's tiring, you're going too heavy too early. We're gonna go ahead and do this together. I'm gonna bring my hands right over the top of my shoulders. Now from here, I'm gonna bend my elbows, bringing the dumbbells to the outside of my chest. Keeping the dumbbells right over the top of my elbows. So I'm not letting the dumbbells come in, I'm keeping them out wide at my elbow width. I'm bringing them all the way down, all the way back up, doing that full range of motion. Now I like the dumbbells over a barbell because I can get deeper into that movement where I don't have to worry about the bar hitting me in the chest. Now, if it's uncomfortable in your shoulder to do this, where your hands are right out to the sides, another advantage of the dumbbells is instead of being right here where it's straight out to the side, I can drop my elbows a little bit down where I'm still over the top of my elbows with my hands, but I put a little bit less on the front of my shoulder to do that. So I find that's a great way of limiting how much stress is at the front of your shoulder. You can drop that down a little bit. Hey Lars, good to see you. You're watching later, but have a great training session. Cheers. Hey, I know sometimes it's hard to make the training session at this time, but I'm glad you dropped in and said hi. Good luck in your workout. Let me know if you have any questions. And so I always like to pair 2 exercises together so that anytime we do a pushing movement, we also do a pulling movement. Muscles always are set up in pairs, or what are called antagonist pairs. So it's sort of like a teeter-totter. One muscle pulls this way, one muscle pulls this way. And so we want to make sure that that's strong on both sides. So for that, we're going to do a supported row, hanging from your shoulder. I'm going to put my hand here. This helps take pressure off my low back so I can just focus all on this rowing movement. Now this works the lats, which run along your upper back, and the bicep in the front of your arm, with a little bit of that back of the shoulder muscle as well. So for that posterior deltoid, what you're going to do from here, letting the dumbbell fully hang, you're going to pull up to your rib cage and then back down to full hang. I'm trying to keep my chest pointed straight at the ground, so I'm not twisting it all with my spine. I'm just pulling from the arm and shoulder. So I'm pulling up on that back. Imagine like you're trying to drive your elbow through the ceiling. So pulling up into the back. And that gets more of that upper back muscle. Now, if I was to bend more of my arm like this, I'm getting more of that bicep. So because I want to really focus on the back in this one, that's why I'm thinking about bringing my elbow back more than I'm thinking about bringing my hand up. I'm not thinking about my hand up. I'm thinking about pulling up to the back with that elbow. And that's what's going to engage more of those lat muscles. Because later on, we're going to focus specifically into that bicep already. So I want to make sure I hit my lats. So the lat muscles attach in at the right past the shoulder and go all the way down to your low back. So it's this whole wing of muscle. Some people call them the wings. So that it's sort of a triangular shape downwards. All right, so now going to heavier dumbbells. Now this is where we start counting the number of working sets for the dumbbells because we just warmed up. Now I'm going to the 40-pound dumbbell, and this is where I start counting the number of sets. To build muscle, you need multiple sets, or it's more ideal to have multiple sets. If I repeat an exercise, it increases the rate that muscle grows. I used to do just one set and never saw the results that I wanted. It hasn't been until I started doing multiple sets in each workout where I'm really getting everything I can out of that muscle. And that's where I've seen more muscle growth. So for me, I like to aim between 2 and 4 sets each workout for exercises that I'm trying to grow, or 2 sets to maintain, 4 sets to grow. So from here, I'm gonna bend my elbows. I can drop those elbows a little down, but I want to keep the hands wide. So I'm controlling it through the entire movement. I'm not using my pecs or my chest muscles like a rubber band. So you don't bounce off of your chest. You don't do sort of this movement. You want to just go down, pause for just a moment, and back up. Now I'm trying for 11 reps. 10 and 11. Because last week I did 10 reps. This week I'm trying to increase it by 1. So if I can, I'm trying to add 1 rep extra per week to do what's called progressively overload the muscle. That's where I'm challenging the muscle a little bit more each time. Now, something I used to do that's not actually progressive overload is I used to just go, oh, I'm gonna do the maximum I think I can do every single time. So that means I'm gonna add 10 pounds every time, or go up by 30 pounds between one week and the next week. That's not progressive overload. That's just silliness. So that set me up to not progress as quickly, not be steady. I was more extreme in things, and that actually hurt me more often and made it so I didn't progress like I needed to. So being patient, taking the right steps, just 1 rep at a time or 1 small weight increase at a time, trying to do at most 5% more every week. So that's a rep every week or 2, usually. And that's a much more reasonable goal. So I know that still gets me sometimes, where I want to go really extreme and say, oh man, I'm gonna throw in 5, 6, 7 sets next week because I'm gonna try and just really accelerate this. And it's okay to try and accelerate things, but I need to go at a pace that my body can actually handle. It's no good if to keep the metaphor going, if I was in the car, it's no good to just slam on the gas and crash into a wall. I want to keep in control of that. So the workout is working for me and I'm able to continue to progress. It's no good if I hit a plateau or stall, or at worst get injured. So I'm just sustaining that progressive overload, going just a little bit more each time, trying to build up reps over time. Now, same thing with sets. When I first started, 2 or 3 sets was what my body could handle. Now I'm trying to do 4 sets. I'd really like to get up to the point where I'm doing 5 or 6, but I need to let my body adapt to that change rather than just throwing a ton of change at it all at once. Imagine it like a tree. So if you slowly bend a branch over time, then the tree can grow in that direction. If you just yank on that branch, you can snap it off. So same idea with your body. If you slowly change the forces you're putting on your body, it will help grow the bone, grow the muscle, grow the tendon in that direction, and you'll be able to accomplish that eventually. But if you were just suddenly put a ton of pressure and weight on that, you might risk actually breaking those bones, breaking those muscles. So that's why we don't want to risk that. We want to slowly increase it over time. Now, it is important to increase over time. We don't want to just use the same weights or the same reps week after week, because if we're wanting to promote growth, you constantly have to be challenging your body a little bit each time. So from week to week, you want to be increasing that challenge somewhat. You can do that by adding reps, or you can do that by adding weight. Those are the 2 big ways of doing that. By challenging the muscle more. I'm doing it by adding reps. And that's true for muscle building or strength building. Both of them, you want to have that progressive overload. So either type of training, and they are different. One focuses on how that muscle feels and tiring out the muscle. That's hypertrophy or muscle size training. Strength training is much more about how much weight can you lift using all the muscle available, and that's, but both require progressive overload. So, with hypertrophy training, another thing you can do to overload the muscle more is add more sets. I would say that you still want to try and add reps, but maybe you don't feel strong enough to add another rep, but you could add another set to that exercise where you repeat that exercise again. And that would be another way you could progress or build faster, by adding an additional set on maybe a week that you can't add another set, but try another rep. But so say you could lift the weight 11 times. You couldn't do 12, but you could do another set of 11 after a little rest. So what we're doing is called supersetting, where we do a pair of exercises. So we're doing a pull and a push movement, and that's working both sides of that joint. Well, one side is recovering, the other side is working. Then while this side's recovering, this side's working. So my chest is resting while I'm doing those pulling, doing the row, and that lets me get through a workout faster, where I am able to pair those exercises rather than having a dedicated rest break between. Now, it's fine to rest if you need to between sets. That is okay to do, to let your heart rate come back down, to let your body cool off a little bit. I'm gonna grab a quick sip of water. I find for me, the fastest way to slow myself down is when I overheat. So that's definitely a thing to watch out for while you're working out. You want to be limited by the muscles, not your body overheating. There was a study done on pull-ups, and they had a group that all they did was hold on to a cold tube, and they found just cooling off their hands for cooling off their body, they were able to do more pull-ups than the group that didn't have the assistance cooling. So sometimes helping cool your body can actually make all the difference in your workout, where you're able to get through more exercises or more reps. So if you have a cool water bottle, you could hold on to it, because that circulation in your hands will help cool your whole body. I forgot the exact number of pull-ups they could do more, but it was a large number more, like 10% more pull-ups. All right, so our third set of rows, and then we're gonna move on to isolation movements for the arms. So, keeping my back straight, I like this supported row because it helps take your legs and your back out of the equation, so I don't have to worry about my low back. I can just let this hang and pull up to the back, really thinking about my lats, the muscles in my upper back. Now it's important to go all the way down where you're completely letting the dumbbell hang, because that is where you have the most tension in that muscle. You don't want to go partially down. You want to go through a full range of motion that also pulls my shoulder blade forward. So I'm engaging more of those retracting muscles between my shoulder blades. So if you want to have a big upper back where your shoulder blades are really defined, you want to make sure you do that full part, because different muscles take over different parts of the movement. And relax. So now I'm going to drop to a lighter weight. Actually, and we're going to do an overhead tricep extension. Now my triceps are warmed up from doing the bench press, so I'm going to go straight into the next exercise because I'm already feeling pretty warmed up. So I'm going to hold this right behind my head with both hands. Now my hands, I'm holding like this, so I'm making sort of a triangle in the middle of my hands, so both hands are working at the same time. So going here, make sure nothing's above you that you're gonna hit. From here, my elbows are high. I'm gonna push up towards the ceiling and then back down. So I'm working the muscle in the back of my arm, that tricep muscle. Nine. 11. And relax. Careful when bringing it back forward that you don't get yourself in the back of the head. So with this, bringing that elbow up lengthens that long head of the tricep, that big piece of tricep muscle. So I really like that variation because I find I can really feel it engaging this muscle back in here. So that's why I've started doing these. I used to do skull crushers. I think skull crushers are still fine. They're a great exercise. This though has all the advantages of skull crushers. It feels fine on my shoulder. For some people, skull crushers will be a more effective exercise than it is for me personally. I think it's a great exercise, nothing wrong with it. Just for me personally, this one's working better. So now I'm gonna shift to a lighter weight and do wall curls. So back flat against the wall. So head and hips and hands to the front. So I'm getting tension on that bicep. I'm gonna pull to the front and then back out. Now, something I'm doing, I'm not going down with the bicep curl. I'm actually going out a little bit. So I keep tension on that bicep the whole time. And having my back and head against something stops me from being able to swing my hips to cheat this movement. Now in all these, I'm trying to go for 11 reps. Because last week I did 10. This week I'm trying to get 11. And relax. So I should feel that really burning right in here. The bicep goes from the front of the shoulder all the way down to the inside of the elbow. And for me, I found getting that hand position where it's out like this has made a huge difference. So getting it into the position where gravity is pushing down on it and when it's most lengthened. Now you want to pick a light enough weight where it's not going to hurt that tendon in your bicep, because the tendon actually needs to strengthen too. So starting with that, if it hurts at your tendon, go to a lighter dumbbell. If you're feeling it burn in the muscle, you're at the right level. Great way to do that, if you do have tendon, it hurts in the tendon, try lower weight, higher reps, and get used to that weight. Because the tendon can only take so much tension, but you can still stress the muscle by doing higher reps and still grow that muscle. All right, set number 2. So hands behind the head. So my elbows are high, pushing up towards the ceiling, and then back behind your head. This is working the muscle in the back of the arms. Should feel that burning in your arms. 10 and 11. Now sometimes with that exercise, it's good to have a spotter, just because getting it from behind your head can be a little bit challenging. So sometimes having someone to take the weight from you can be a good way of doing it. Just make sure they have it before you let go. I always like to do, if I'm taking away from someone, I take it away from them rather than sort of passively grab it, where they can feel me remove it from them. So if you're ever helping spot someone, making sure they know you have it is a really important thing, whether you say it or you indicate it some way with your body so they can feel that difference. All right, going to a wall curl. I'm trying to really grow the muscles in my arms. So I'm trying for 4 sets of arm exercises. So this is set number 2. Starting with your hands in front, pulling up to the front, keeping that head and hips against the wall to really emphasize the muscles in your arms. Should feel that burning right about now. All right, I'm gonna take just a minute, cool off, because I can feel I'm sweating and I'm gonna be limited by how hot my body is getting. So I'm gonna try to cool off with some water. Now, if you are looking for equipment like what I have affiliate links down below in the description. They do not cost you any extra to get, but it does help the channel, support me and the channel if you buy through those links. So if you buy anything off of Amazon, workout related or otherwise, if you click my links, I will get a small cut. Thank you so much if you would like to support me in that way. But just being here is a huge amount of support, where I'm trying to build a community of people that's working together to get fit, to get stronger, to build muscle and strength. So if you want to join me on that journey, hit that subscribe button, join the community. I host these live streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, where I do all my workouts live on stream, where what you see is what you get. I'm not doing something different than what I'm telling you to do. So, straightening. Now we're going back to the triceps for set number 3. So straightening out to the front, keeping those elbows high. Thanks. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, that was set number 3. Now I'm trying for 4 sets with my arms, because I'm trying to get everything I can out of my arms to build up larger biceps, larger triceps to increase that arm size. I'm working on a lot of muscles, but really emphasizing a lot of time into those arms right now. So this is going to be until I get my arms to where I want them to be. I'm going to be building everything a little bit, but especially focusing in arms. And then after I get them where I want them to be, I can just do some sets to maintain them. So a couple sets per week will maintain that muscle while I'm then building a different muscle. I'm gonna need just a quick second. My forearms are actually feeling tired, so it was hard to hold the weights. So I'm gonna make sure, let those relax for a moment, cool off, and then and then do the exercise where I could hold it safely. It's no good if I drop the dumbbell, hurt my foot, have to stop working out. Be not good at all. So I'm gonna take just a quick second and let my grip recover. That's one thing that's a little harder about the overhead press, is it's harder to hold because I'm not having a solid grip with all 5 fingers. I'm just holding sort of with 3 and 3 in the middle. So that is a little more of a challenge with it. So there's trade-offs. Usually there's not a bad exercise. It's just what are you trading in that exercise versus a different one. For instance, in this exercise where I'm bringing my back to the wall and then my hands forward, I've actually limited a little bit of how much stretch I can get at the top of that bicep. So I'm more emphasizing the stretch at the elbow, but not at the shoulder, which is a trade-off, but that's okay. I'm still getting some good bicep growth, maybe not perfect bicep growth, but still pretty good. Now to get better bicep growth, where I'm doing the full length of that bicep, I would need to be reclined a little bit. So I'm stretching across both joints. Way of doing that would be going to something more like this, where I'm actually laying down, doing a bicep curl, going into that extension. That is a better bicep exercise for me. That's a bit uncomfortable on the front of my shoulder. So I'm starting with I'm starting a little bit higher angled up, doing that sometimes during the week on an incline bicep curl to strengthen up that part of the tendon. My goal is to eventually be doing a full reclined bicep curl. I'm gonna give just a second for my grip. If you're liking this content and want to see more workouts like this, hit that like button for me to let me know you want more dumbbell workouts where we work full body. So I use a combination of dumbbells and tube resistance bands. Today we're just using dumbbells. I like both for different reasons and different exercises. I found though, recently it seems like more people have access to dumbbells, so I'm trying to show more dumbbell workouts because it seems like that's what people have. But if you have resistance bands and want to do more band workouts, let me know in the comments, and that way I can know we really should emphasize that a little bit more, because I want to be able to help you get to where you want to go with the equipment you have. So because more people seem to have dumbbells, we're working out with dumbbells, building up muscle that way. So this is our last set of overhead tricep extensions. Trying for 11 reps. So I'm keeping it behind my head. 6. And relax. Now, if you find that you have to do fewer reps on your last set, that's okay. Where you have to drop the number of reps because the muscle is more tired, that's not a problem, as long as the muscle feels tired by the end. That's the important part of the exercise. That way you know you're stimulating muscle growth. So because that's been challenged, that's when you know that the muscle is gonna grow. All right, how are we doing for time? Doing just fine, all right. So, last set of bicep curl. Trying to go all the way out straight at my elbow. Oh, and relax. All right. So we just did a lot of upper body exercises. Now we're gonna shift to some lower body exercises. So we're gonna work the muscles in the front of the hip, or the back of the hips, and then some of the core as well. So for this, I like to do a bench, a hip thruster using a bench. Now, you could do this with a chair or a ball as well. I'll show you real fast with the bench first. So what I'm gonna do is put my shoulders on the bench with my elbows out to the sides for balance, my feet about shoulder width apart. From here, this is our starting position. So we're gonna be working the muscles in the back of the hip. Now for this, what I'm gonna do, what you could do is do 2 leg at the same time to work both sides, doing that glute thruster, okay? But if this is too easy to do, where you can do a 30 reps and it's not hard, we're gonna take one foot, put it a little bit in the middle and lift up the other foot. Do the same thing with one leg. So working those muscles in the back of your glutes. Trying for 10 reps. Now, the further out your foot is, the more it's that hamstring muscle in the back of your thigh. The closer your foot is the more it's your glutes in the back of your hips. So I'm trying to keep my feet the same distance on both sides, so I'm growing the same proportion of muscles. And relax. So for legs and core, I like to do 1 set for right now because I find I get so sore from this. That's about how much I can handle. Now, if you have an exercise ball, you could do the same thing where you've got your shoulders on the ball. Move the bench a little bit. I'll slide this out of the way. So you could do this with an exercise ball. Just be careful you don't slide off the ball. So still doing that hip bridge or thruster up to the front, where you're engaging the muscles in the back of your hips. Go in here. Just make sure, the thing I don't like about the ball is it's easy to slip out like that. So just be careful, especially if you're doing it with weights. I'd recommend finding something more stable than the ball. Now, we're gonna work the core muscles, then we'll focus in on the deltoids. So I like to do a exercise ball sit up. What you're gonna do is go to fully laying down on the ball. This stretches that rectus abdominis muscle a ton. So from here, you're going to reach up towards the front, trying to bring your rib cage into your belly button. So breathing out, you should feel that really tense up that stomach. So I'm not trying to sit up. I'm trying to bring my shoulder blades up off the ball and push my rib cage down to my belly button. And relax. All right, so that's what we're gonna do for legs and core today. I bashed my knee on Tuesday. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's a little hard to see on camera. It's a little bit bruised right here, right on the kneecap. I hit right here. So any sort of squat is a little challenging. So I'm not gonna do squats today just because I wanna let this knee heal. That's the second time within the last couple months I've hit this knee in the garage. So just slammed it into a piece of metal. So I'm giving my body time to heal, and sometimes that influences your workout. What happens outside the workout is actually a pretty big deal. So I like to say that that fitness has 3 big pillars to it. One pillar is exercise, the other is sleep, and the third is nutrition. Now, underneath all those is making sure you're not getting injured. So that injury, that big swelling and bruising on my knee is gonna influence my workout more than probably anything else. That's why I always try and focus in on how can we reduce injury, because I've gotten hurt enough where I pulled hamstrings, I tore a bone in my knee, I hurt my shoulders, and I don't want that for you guys. I want you to be able to avoid those pitfalls while still building muscle and strengthening the muscles that support your joints and your body so you can reduce injury rather than increase it. So we don't want to do nothing because that's going to also increase injury. So I'm going to do a side lying lateral raise. I like this better as a dumbbell variation because I feel like I get a better deltoid activation with it. Now, scientifically, you can still grow muscle doing a more standard lateral raise. I just find for me, this takes out some of that trap, that upper neck muscle, and I can really feel that deltoid activate much more effectively. So I know other people in the community also really like this variation better. Now, if you don't like this one in particular, or if it doesn't feel as good to you, it's totally fine to do this standing as well, lifting out to the sides like a snow angel. Same thing on the other side. Now with bands, I like the standing variation with bands as well. That's also one of my favorites for deltoid. I just find this one, I have much better isolation on that deltoid. And 11. I'm trying to match reps on both sides. So you should feel that right here in the deltoid, working that cap on your shoulder. So I'm gonna try for finishing out with as many sets as I can of this, doing 11 reps. Now, the one thing I would say about this, if you're doing it at a gym, the people who want to do bench press will get kind of mad at you sometimes for taking up a whole bench to do this. So you can also do it on a pad on the ground. Oh, I think that's where I'm stopping because that's about the limit of that muscle. So, if you like these workouts with dumbbells and want to see more, I host these live streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Hope to see you there.